Good afternoon. Our lesson for today is non-random sampling. We are done with our chapter 3, method of research design, and now we are going to discuss about samples technique or sample size and sampling technique and population. There are terms to remember. Population means the aggregate of all elements under study having one or more common characteristics. For example, all people living in India constitutes the population. Sample is so selected should be such that it represents the population in all its characteristics, and it should be free from bias so as to produce miniature cross-section as the sample observations are used to make generalizations about the population. Respondents are individuals or group of people who actively serve as the source of information during data collection. Sampling is a process through which a researcher selects a portion or segment from the population at the center of the research study. The definition of non-probability sampling: more suitable for qualitative research where you want to explore a specific phenomenon or group in depth. It is a method that does not give every element in the population an equal chance of being selected. There are 5 non-probability sampling methods: purposive sampling, convenience sampling, quota sampling, snowball sampling, and volunteer sampling. Inconvenience sampling involves choosing respondents at the convenience of the researcher. It is also called accidental or incidental sampling. A researcher intends to study the elementary students at a particular school and has determined the desired sample size. Due to the study constraints, the elementary pupils who are present at the time of the researcher's visit to the school will be chosen as respondents. Another example include online and social media surveys, asking acquaintances and surveying people in a mall, on the street, and other crowded locations. Purposive sampling involves handpicking subjects, usually to suit very specific intentions. This is also called judgmental sampling. Example, in a study about honor students, the researcher uses a list of honor students and chooses the necessary number of respondents to the exclusion of all other students. Quota sampling is somewhat similar to stratified sampling in that the population is divided into strata, and the researcher deliberately sets specific proportions in the sample. Whether or not the resulting proportions is reflective on the total population. This is commonly done to ensure the inclusion of a particular segment of the population. Example, a researcher wants to survey the employees of a company regarding their thoughts on the company's new policies. The researcher intends to have representatives from all departments in his sample, but one department is so small that doing random sampling might result in that department not being represented. The researcher then sets a quota of respondents from that department to ensure their inclusion. Snowball sampling does not give a specific set of samples, similar to snows expanding widely or rolling rapidly. This is true for a study involving an unspecified group of people. Dealing with varied groups of people such as street children, drug dependents, gang members, informal settlers, street vendors, and the like is possible in this kind of non-probability sampling. A snowball sample is achieved by asking a participant to suggest someone else who might be willing to appropriate for the study. Volunteer sampling involves people who self-select into the survey. Often, these folks have strong interest in the main topic of the survey. Example, a noontime show like It's Showtime asks viewers to participate in an online poll or to vote for the winner in Tawag ng Tanghalan. This would be a volunteer sample since the sample is chosen by the viewers, not by the survey administrator. Now, in determining the sample size, estimation of a sample size may be utilized. The rule of thumb of effective sample size for each research and data collection method presented were designed by Dr. Bonnie Nastasi in her presentation, Qualitative Research, Sampling and Sample Size Consideration. So for the rule of thumb on research approach, biography and case studies, select one case or one person. In phenomenology, assess 10 people. If you reach saturation prior to assessing 10 people, you may use fewer. In grounded theory, ethnography, and action research, assess 20 to 30 people, which is sufficiently enough to reach a saturation. In the rule of thumb on data collection method, interviewing key informants, interview appropriate 5 people. In focus group, create that average 5 to 10 people each. In addition, consider the number of focus group based on grouping represented in the research question. Ethnographic surveys, select a large and representative sample in select a large and representative sample for post-full or random based. With numbers similar to those in a quantitative study, you may use Rosop, Cochrane, and Slavin for sample size. Thank you so much. See you next lecture.